Got two of my three Daisy 880s here. This is my most accurate one, and it's been in several videos. It's almost sentimental. I'm in the process of starting to rebuild some original 880s that go back to these ones here, the early 1970s 880s, which is a little bit different. 1983 they kind of changed it. So these two 880s are the modern ones. This one is the made in China version, which I think happened after 2007, and this is a 1990. It's also been subject of a couple videos. This one has not lost a lot of speed over the last couple years, but it has a trigger pull of 5.0. When I take these apart, or take one of the two apart, I'm going to install probably a new rod and seals there. And then the big challenge, I've got this new trigger kit, which is supposed to lessen the trigger pull. That was the reason why I thought about doing it in this one, because the trigger pull is 5, trigger pull is 4.5 in here. It's only a half-pound difference, so this one probably is in need of seals. It'll be a really great project, and plus I can use this one as an experiment for the trigger kits on both this Daisy 880 and my Winchester 1977, which has a trigger pull of 7. I have sort of talked myself in. I really wasn't sure which one I was going to do, so I'm going to use my 1990 Daisy 880 as the first attempt at tinkering with the Daisy 880. The first thing I'll do is take these off. This is the old style, is the brass pressure tube and the hex valve there. This is all stuff I learned from JL Missouri videos. On the older version, it's a flat top piston, and on the newer ones, it is got that dent in it. On the old one, the sponge was dry rotted. The owner had soaked it in, looks like motor oil. It's not pill oil. It smells like motor oil too, so that deteriorates a lot of stuff. So I would wipe down all that oil and put a new sponge on from the 880 replacement kit. I'm kind of surprised at that this is the old style. Thought that they stopped with the old ones in the 80s. Yeah, I got it back together. I had to use this vise over here to press this, get it back together, but the O-rings are different sizes too, I found out. So I'm just hoping the old O-ring is still good to go, but I put a new sponge on. I think everything else is in order. We will put this thing together. Getting that pin right here in is probably one of the hardest parts of the old way, because you have to press down on the brass tube to get that lined up here, but that's what holds it all together in the old way. There's your chamber, and there's that hexagonal valve there that I'm not going to mess with the trigger kit that I have, because I don't think it deals with that. Just trying to hold this in place. The older versions also have their own separate trigger guard. It's not connected to the frame. I'm going to try this. This is a replacement bolt I got from Daisy, but notice it's got a O-ring, whereas the original, it might have had an O-ring at one time, I can't tell, but it's not there anymore. Pretty tight fit there. Put it back together and realize that the bolt with the O-ring is not for an old style Daisy 880. Let me show you what happened there. Shot it. Here's your Daisy flat nose. I had speeds in the 500s versus before I took it apart was in the 600s. I knew something was wrong. Took the new bolt out and reinstalled the old one with just a little bit of super glue on it that I sanded down so it fits real tight in there. After I put the new bolt in, I ran these five tests. The speeds are almost exactly the same. The Daisy flat nose before I cleaned it and after. So we're on no need to retest all these. I'm going to switch over to pellets that I had learned about from watching other YouTubers. Guy did a video about 7 years ago that was pretty convincing that these Beeman hollow points are really good for Daisy 880s. So I'm going to run these through the chronograph. Pretty good. I'll put her in the book. The Beeman had 7.48 grains, average speed of 677 feet per second, and a kinetic energy of 7.6 foot-pounds. Just curious, I ran some Crossman specialty pellets, both which I have had good luck with my primary 880. This one here is the Crossman Fast Flight, and it was getting really good speeds. I forgot to put that last one down. The Crossman Fast Flight is very fast. It had an average speed of 740 feet per second. That's because it's so light. It's only 5.4 grains. The kinetic energy, because it's so light, was only 6.6 foot-pounds. However, stick around and you'll see that sometimes that doesn't always tell you the whole story. The Crossman Gold Flight. The Crossman Gold Flight has a 8.5 grains, an average speed of 647, which is pretty good. Kinetic energy was 7.9 foot-pounds, which is very good. Almost broke the 8 pounds. So now we're going to try these Beemans. I looked through the binoculars. They're either hitting dead center or they're on the outer edge there in a group. So that's kind of weird. Now I moved out to the 25-yard bench and have tried shooting groups of 5 using the Daisy flat nose and primarily the Beeman, which I wanted to try for this video specifically. And I just got through firing the Excite hammer. We'll go down and check. This is the Beeman. I aimed right here. This is the Daisy flat nose and I aimed straight. That's the one I fired first. That was a flyer from there. There's a flyer from the Beeman. And then this is the Excite hammer. I actually aimed the Excite hammer about right here. The scope is good enough you could actually put the crosshairs and see. The scope you have to estimate. It's an analog scope, so there's not any clicks. You just kind of go by feel. The scope I'm using here is just a Tasco scope that costs less than $20 at Walmart. It's a pretty good scope for as inexpensive as it is. I can't buy a $70 to $150 scope for every air gun I have, so I try to at least have a nicer scope that I can see at 25 yards at, and this one I still have a fairly good view. It's a lot better than a similarly priced Crossman 4x15 or a Daisy 4x15. But this Tasco scope is a pretty bargain scope if you've got a limited budget and you just want to, have a decent shot out at 25 yards. That's my 2 cents for that. We'll have to have some live shooting here, so I will do 25 yards shooting 10 pellets of Beeman. Okay, here goes the Beeman and the Dirty Bird. These old daisies are quite a lot of fun to shoot. We should have got one back in the 70s. Okay, I think that's 10. Yes, it was 10. Looks like it was a little off to the side, but made that all white. Last but not least, the penetration test. I'm going to try the Crosman Fast Flight and the Crosman Gold Flight. First up is the Crosman Gold Flight. Alright, switching over to the Crosman Fast Flight. This one is a vicious little round. It's fast, but it's sharp. It does really well in these daisies, 880s. Wow, it looks like they all cut through. That's pretty good, eh? A couple things I learned about my old Daisy. It has the old style, which includes that flat top piston. When I look at it, it looks like that's a lot better casting. I don't know if that impacted the performance or not. This thing is still performed with very few changes over the years. I'm not sure which factory they made it in, either in Rogers, Arkansas, or in a cave in Neosho, Missouri. Those people did a good job back in the day. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe.